Welcome everyone to another edition of HogvilleNET Hoops. I'm your host, Kevin McPherson. Not sure about the volume levels, not sure about the acoustics in this small office. And we've got Dexter barking in the background. He wants to be part of the show. I can tell this is going to be interesting. Dexter and I have had a hell of a morning. We've been playing and family members out at salon and barbershop appointments and running errands. And we got a lot going on, a big get together this evening here in Phoenix and events planned throughout the weekend, including a baby shower with family coming in from all over the country on Saturday. I'm going to be a grandfather. I mentioned that on a previous episode. First time grandfather. Baby's due in late July, so I'll be back out in Phoenix either then or maybe sometime early August. But it's good to be around the fam, especially at this exciting time. But we don't stop talking basketball. In fact, it's time to talk more basketball. Look, I prepped you guys for how chaotic it might be on the stay or go, make or break decision deadline day, which was yesterday, Wednesday, May 27th. I traveled all day, or really late in the afternoon through late night. By the time I actually landed in Phoenix, it was after midnight in the 501, just after 10 o'clock here in the Phoenix area. But certainly, we knew we had two, not one, but two pro hogs with stay or go decisions, and they become college players again if they formally withdraw from the draft to return to school. And they had a 11:59, 1 minute before the stroke of midnight Eastern time. So I got all kinds of time zones I was battling. I recorded Tuesday night back in the 501. I did a show that aired to that I published Tuesday night on HogvilleNET Hoops YouTube, and then I recorded four more because I knew Wednesday was going to be hectic and I had no idea when announcements were going to be made. And I told you all that. I prepped you for it, but I did four recordings. One if Malik Thomas decided to stay, return to Arkansas. One if Malik Thomas decided to stay in the draft. One if Billy Richmond decided to stay in the draft. Another one for Billy Richmond coming back to Arkansas. So I had four downloaded, uploaded. I stayed up all night, basically Tuesday into Wednesday, early morning, and again with late afternoon travel plans to head over to Phoenix. And so I had a layover in Dallas at Dallas Love Field, and but it was chaotic because when I got to Dallas Love Field, excuse me, when I was at the Little Rock Airport, the Clinton National Airport, we were on the plane and it was taxiing to the point where it comes to a stop, and then it takes off, right? And so during that time is when the news initially broke that Billy Richmond III was actually going to stay in the draft. It came from John Rothstein. I saw other reputable national outlets starting to report that. People in my DMs and texts, folks I trust, saying, "Hey, Billy's gone." And so I had my content ready. I had the YouTube, the version that he's staying in the draft, and an article for Hogville.net, that basically disclosing both versions as well. So I ran with what looked to be correct. Unfortunately, because the plane was about to take off and I had to go into airplane mode and I didn't have the Wi-Fi set up yet. I had been working on that and I thought I got to the finish line on that, but I had one more step to do, and I didn't realize that. So once we were airborne, I had no social media for an hour and 15 minutes, hour and 20 minutes until we landed in Dallas Love Field from Little Rock. And that's when I learned, no, actually, and it was reported differently. The first thing I saw was John Rothstein had said that there was a change of heart, and it looked like his updated reporting was about 20, 25 minutes after his original reporting, which is what I saw in real time, and the other stuff coming in to me in a flood in about a minute before we took off. And so then I had another national analyst send me a DM saying Rothstein got it wrong. There was no U-turn by Billy Richmond. He was just never going to stay in the draft. He was coming back to Arkansas. Well, whatever happened, I was playing from behind, and I didn't get my uh, content correct, the correct versions out until a few minutes after I landed and saw the flood of texts and DMs I had gotten while I was in the air saying, "Oh, pump the brakes. Billy's actually staying." And then these national reports on Twitter, that kind of thing. So I kind of explained that. But what you saw when I put the YouTube version out, I did two of them in two versions of articles, and I had to delete the ones that eventually were incorrect. But they sat out there for a while because there was nothing I could do. I didn't even know that it was incorrect until I landed. So I've explained that already. But it was just an interesting day. But nonetheless, this is, the corrected content. One of those is an image of the YouTube, the HogvilleNET Hoops YouTube that I put out about Billy Richmond III coming back. There's the article or the tweet with the link to article as well on the screen. And this is, I said it, this is how I described it. Saying that a return for Billy Richmond III is a grand slam home run in the ninth inning. It was the deadline day, so you're in the late stages of the decision process, and you're getting back an All SEC player, year three under Calipari at Arkansas. So he's the first to do that. Trevor Brazile 2 seasons under Cal at Arkansas, DJ Wagner 2 seasons under Cal at Arkansas. I don't think I'm leaving anybody out in terms of your top rotation, and so um, Jaden Carroll Letway, he wasn't in the top rotation, but he's out. He's out after 2 years. He went in the portal. So bottom line is this is a huge retention piece, and you're deep at the wing spot with two 5-star wings coming in. JJ Andrews of Dutour. You've got Isaiah Seeley coming into his second season. Was not a top rotation player, but you know, it was more than just a back end when the game's blown out, kind of a get blown, when the margin's crazy and you're effectively in a walk-on role at the end of a game. He was more than that for Arkansas. So you got a lot of depth there. You've got quality in Jordan Smith Jr. and Jeremiah Wilkinson as both of them 1-2 combos. Maybe Torrey, maybe Seeley. We've known, and as a freshman, Billy Richmond played some um, at the lead guard to back up DJ when Boogie Flam was out for basically the rest of the season. So you've got enough versatility maybe in some of those typical wing positions to help you at the guard spot. And what I've always said is if you lose both Billy Richmond III and Malik Thomas, then Calipari should really consider adding another guard or a wing. My preference was a two guard that can shoot. Um, but if you got one of those two back, whether it was Malik or Billy, whichever one, I don't think you necessarily have to fill the one who departed the roster spot with a comparable positional player. You could actually decide to go a little deeper on the front line. I mean, you still need one to at minimum get to where you've been. And we've been calling for a five, a big man, and a quality one to get to you to a three-player rotation on the front line with Mika Miernan and Cooper Bowser. And with the departure of Malik Thomas, we're going to talk about in a second, that opens up another spot to get another big, whether that's a 4 or 5 or a 4 or 5 combo. So that's how I would do it. We'll take a look at that in a second, how I kind of put that together and mocked it up. And then the other shit show version of the Arkansas stay or go decision day was Malik Thomas was the only player that had national attention who didn't make an announcement either way on the deadline day. It went past midnight, it went past 1 a.m. Of course, the time was different here when I got here. It was earlier, but it was 3 hours behind when the actual deadline came and went. It doesn't mean that you have to announce something publicly. If you were coming back to school, you would have just had to have your paperwork turned in. But I figured Leak was staying in. We said that all along, even though it was a narrow thought there that it wasn't a huge. Oh, he's definitely staying in. Where I was 51% he stays in, 49% he comes out. Both of these shook out like I've talked about on every episode since they both entered the draft. Billy Richmond's likely to come back. Malik Thomas likely to stay in. Here's what the intel is from my valuable sources that gave us great intel on what NBA teams thought about both players. Were there draft guarantees? In Malik Thomas's case, yes. And so it is what it is. Malik made his decision and it became public this morning, a day after the deadline day. Again, this whole thing was a wreck, in my opinion, in terms of optics. But once you digest it pretty quickly, it's not that bad. I mean, at the end of the day, you get Billy Richmond back. What if that had been jacked up and the initial announcement was Billy Richmond's coming back to Arkansas, and then 20, 25 minutes later, it's corrected to no, he's staying in the draft? Then you would have been angry. Then you would have really been upset, and that would have carried over. You'd still be sour about that today. Yeah, you had to wait a little bit extra with Malik Thomas to find that out. Again, I think Jonathan Givony with Draft Express this morning is the one that announced that he was able to confirm that in fact Malik Thomas is staying in the draft. And then later today, Leak on his Instagram page put out a little message. And here's what it says: "Quote unquote, I'll forever be a hog. I appreciate the fans and support that I've received in my year, and all the love will always be felt and reciprocated." All right. So if both of these guys had decided to stay in the draft, you wish both of them well. They were great hogs. They were all SEC performers. They were fan favorites. Arkansas had a lot of those. Darius A. Cup Jr. Among the list of fan favorites. And we know he wasn't coming back with eligibility remaining. But we've known that. We've known, never had a doubt about that. With these two, it's easy to build up expectations and hopes. But at the end of the day, it's what we always told you. Leake's going to stay in more than likely, and Billy Richmond's coming back overwhelmingly more than likely. And maybe that got dicey a little bit. Maybe Rothstein's reporting was correct, and he had a change of heart. Maybe the other national analyst, who I won't name, but he did reach out to me with a DM, wishing me safe travels and a happy vacation, is how he worded it, and then telling me pretty abruptly, yeah, Rothstein effed that up. Billy was never going to stay in the draft. He was coming back to Arkansas. So whatever. I'm not certain on that. All I know is that it was just awkward timing with my travel day. And remember, I booked this trip knowing these events were coming up and planned already back in March. I think I booked my flights um, when maybe, I don't even know, I think Arkansas was still in the NCAA tournament when I booked them. I wasn't looking ahead and thinking about what is the date for the last day of the withdrawal date to come back to school. I just planned it because we had specific events planned for later tonight. So I knew I had to get in Phoenix by Wednesday, the 27th, for things that were going on tonight and throughout the week, where all of that had already been planned out. So anyway, I kind of explained that already, I know, but it just added insult to injury in terms of my ability to report and feel good about being on top of this. All right, the flights were great. I had a lot of fun. I got made some new friends. I'll put it that way. It was uh, uh, good times in the air. I mean, if you're gonna spend some hours traveling, make the most of it, right? Okay. Let's move on to what I said about this. In a tweet today, I put this out. This is the weirdest offseason for Arkansas basketball in recent memory, and the roster is still one or two additions away from completion. Mama, may she rest in peace, always said it's best to put together a badass front line to go with your five-star collection of guards and wings. We'll see. Well, Arkansas is off to a good start. Mika Murin's an unknown, unproven, no college experience, but he is a five-star. He is a 7-footer. He is crazy athletic. There are similarities to Trevor Brazile. He's part of your frontline answer as a stretch four and someone who I think is going to help some at the five. Cooper Bowser, a proven at the mid-major level, really good player and a veteran guy. And I think he's part of your answer at the five spot and enough versatility to help him at the four. But that's not enough. We've said all along Arkansas needs an A-list big. Calipari, according to my source reporting at Intel for months, when the regular season was going on, saying that he's going to target an A-list guy and spend more on front line this time around, except that the price tags for everything was much higher than he anticipated, specifically and especially for front line, which is always that's the scale relative to other positions because there are fewer players of quality that are bigs, but even more exponential this time around because how much bigs mattered for the national championship team and the Final Four and the Elite Eight. So it just kind of spiraled there, and we know what the history is. But there's still some really quality players out there. Not as many, and you can debate how quality you think it is, but I think there's still a few. But let's do this. So again, yes, it was weird. We'll see what Calipari does. This is my vision for what the roster should look like. You've got Jordan Smith Jr. as a 1-2 combo, Jeremiah Wilkinson 1-2 combo. With Malik Thomas gone, instead of me filling in here go portal or international or reclass. Calipari could do that, but in my vision, this is how I would do it. Maybe view Torrey. I see him more as a wing, but maybe can help with the two. So I've got him down as a 3-2 combo. I put the more prominent position the way I see it first in the number order. 3, the wing spot. /2, maybe help at the 2. Billy Richmond as a 3. I didn't put /1 with him. I think, but I could. I can maybe revise that based on what we learn later in terms of what a Calipari vision for that might be. Now, there's some really good players in the class of 2027 in the backcourt that Arkansas is recruiting and prioritizing. And if any of those decide they want to reclass, that could change the dynamic for how Calipari finishes out this roster. We're going to talk about that in a second, a little bit more. But for now, this is my vision for it and how I would do it. At 3-4, we've said this for a while. J.J. Andrews, we see him predominantly as a wing, but maybe he can help you as a small ball 4 and give you depth at that 4. Because right now, it's just Mika Munin, who I've got down again as a 4-5. I've got Cooper Bowser down as a 5-4, predominantly a 5. Can help at the 4. He's played some at that position, but he's really more of a natural 5, and that's what he and his agent told me was what their conversations with Calipari were, and vice versa, how Arkansas viewed him. Now we'll see if anything changes in terms of how they see that role as they get into limited summer work and see everything else that they put together. But he's right now he'd be your starting 5. And then I put in here in this top 8 rotation another 5, a large A-list big question mark. You know, and then I look at depth and development. Like I've got Isaiah Sealy as a 1-2-3 combo. I could have put that in reverse because last year he was really a wing in terms of how he was used, even if it was only briefly and sporadically. He did have a rotation role in a couple of road games when Arkansas was dealing with injuries. But nonetheless, is he emergency depth or something more than that? Because I've got a top 8 ahead of him with an unknown big still to be determined. Could he be the ninth guy out of this group of what's left? And I would say he would be. It could help you in the guard/wing rotation. He's played on the ball in high school quite a bit in grassroots basketball. Maybe there's something in his development at this level after a year through offseason, once we get into the limited stuff, where maybe that could be a possibility. Everything after him on this list, Samito and Maker, the two 7 foot plus, 7'7", 7'8" wingspan, got their raw talents. They're skinny as can be. And I look at them as depth, but maybe emergency depth when the roster's finalized and still in development. But if you don't add much more on that front line, all of a sudden they're at the back end of your rotation. I just can't imagine that's what Calipari has in mind and what he thinks he's going to land with. Um, and so effectively, that's how I see that. And then I've added one more possibility. Could you still get another 4 or 5 as a high school reclass or international player? Let's see. So I gave you my roster vision. So real quick, and at the SEC meetings, apparently, and it got back to me, Calipari was either directly quoted, and I'm not sure which journalist got this. So that wasn't shared with me. But in general, his thoughts on the talking points, and this is before the public announcements came out about what Leak and BR3 were doing in terms of stay or go. And he was saying that they're looking at another frontline piece and maybe another guard. Well, I wonder, did he mean maybe another guard if both of those players stayed in the draft? Because that's what I've been saying. If that happens, he would need to. Or is he thinking that he knew he was going to get Billy back and Malik was likely going to stay in and he's still going to go get another guard? I don't know I don't know what his thought process is on that. But that's what was relayed to me that he said. But either way, if getting one of those guys back eliminates the need for another guard or wing, maybe he would get 2 bigs instead of just 1. At this point, let's just see what he does to get the 1. And we know what the usual suspects are. We've been talking about this. It's been this guy, Micah Hanline, waiting on the waiver, Florida transfer, 7'1", 260, was a part of a national championship team, was a starter for the Florida Gators the year before that. Really great player at Marshall on the Division I level as a freshman. But here's a guy with a lot of experience, quality championship caliber experience, and could really make an impact. And he needs the waiver. Arkansas has been in pursuit of him. Arkansas has been running other tracks though with big men, not just putting all its eggs in one basket. But we're still waiting for something to land after a portal season that saw at least three swings and misses, right? Because of NIL. It's not like you missed because you didn't pay up. It's because you missed because you weren't willing to pay up. So that's really the kind of my vision there in terms of, does Calipari just sitting around waiting on one? No, I don't think he's just sitting around and waiting on one. Now we've gone through multiple international bigs and their names and what that might look like. We have not been able to give you any updates or reporting that Arkansas has gotten far down the road with any of them. It doesn't mean that they're not. And so we're continuing to work on, now that we've got the stay or go decisions, continuing to work on what's next. All right, going to wrap it up now. This has been HogvilleNet Hoops. I'm your host, Kevin McPherson. If you haven't done it already, please hit subscribe, like, and share. That helps us out. Hype up the content if you liked it. Be sure to turn your notifications on and also put comments in after the fact. Hope you're having a great week. You got a grand slam home run in the ninth inning. You could have had two potentially, but we thought all along you were probably only going to get one. Welcome back, the Billy Goat. I know that he's a fan favorite, so on top of what he brings to the table as a player, there's an excitement level just because he's well loved and well received at every home game and through the Razorback masses. Until next time, hope you're having a great week. Be great in all your endeavors. Appreciate all of you. We'll see you soon.